Hey, BNN family. Today's story is packed with shocking details you won't want to miss. Trust me, this one's going to leave you speechless. Let's begin today's interesting story. Olivia's life had shifted into a rhythm she never anticipated, one shaped by the responsibilities of motherhood and the quiet ebb of her marriage. At 32, she found herself at the intersection of nostalgia and reality. Reflecting on the wild nights of her youth versus the structured life she now led with her husband, Eddie, and their toddler, Isabel. It was a Saturday night that seemed innocuous enough, a chance to escape the daily grind and reclaim a fragment of her former self. Eddie's mother, with her ever-enthusiastic offer for babysitting, allowed them to step out and join friends for dinner and drinks. The excitement of the night filled Olivia with a sense of liberation. The clinking of glasses, the aroma of delicious food, and the laughter that echoed through the room made her feel vibrant again. However, as the night progressed and the drinks flowed, the atmosphere shifted into something more playful and daring. When someone suggested playing Never Have I Ever, an innocent game among friends turned into a minefield of revelations. Olivia's heart raced as Mike, one of their friends, posed a question that caught her off guard. Never have I ever hooked up with someone whose name I can't remember. Without a moment's hesitation, she took a swig from her drink, laughter bubbling up as she recalled her tumultuous dating history. The room buzzed with a mix of amusement and disbelief until Tasha, with a glint of mischief in her eyes, prompted further inquiry. In a moment of reckless abandon, perhaps fueled by the alcohol or the thrill of nostalgia, Olivia made a careless comment about how she couldn't recall half of her past hookups, and the other half were still haunting her dreams. The air thickened with an uncomfortable silence, the laughter fading as quickly as it had erupted. It was Eddie's reaction that sent a chill through her. His face was devoid of expression, as if he were seeing her for the first time through a lens of confusion and hurt. Though he quickly masked his emotions with a forced joke about how memorable he must be, the moment hung heavily in the air, an unspoken tension that would unravel over the coming days. On the drive home, the silence was palpable, not the comfortable quiet of familiarity, but a heavy stillness that suggested a storm was brewing beneath the surface. Eddie's response, or lack thereof, was a stark contrast to the playful banter they usually shared. He was quiet, his usual demeanor replaced by a distant demeanor that left Olivia feeling more isolated than she had in years. When she dared to ask if everything was okay, he dismissed it with a curt, "Sure, just tired." It was a classic Eddie move, always a composed one, always a mature partner. Yet, Olivia felt the distance growing, a chasm that widened with each passing day. The warmth they had once shared now felt like an echo from a distant memory. Their relationship had blossomed 5 years prior, during a time when Olivia was lost in a whirlwind of bad choices and chaotic nights. She had been working retail at the mall, her life a blur of parties and fleeting relationships until Eddie walked in, looking for a gift for his mother. He was unlike anyone she had dated before, too responsible, too grounded. But there was something magnetic about him. His confidence and genuine interest in her life captivated her, leading to a deep infatuation that blossomed into love. They quickly fell into a life together, and by their first anniversary, they were expecting Isabel. Eddie proposed with an ease that suggested he had been waiting for the right moment. His love for her unwavering despite the unexpected turn their lives had taken. But now, after that fateful party, everything felt different. The silence stretched between them like an insurmountable wall. Eddie's routine remained intact. He was a devoted father, playing with Isabel and keeping up with his responsibilities. Yet, when night fell and the child was tucked into bed, he found excuses to avoid being alone with Olivia, the tension thickening like fog around them. One evening, she caught him staring at their wedding photo, and when he noticed her presence, he quickly averted his gaze, further deepening her confusion and frustration. What had started as a light-hearted comment had morphed into a festering wound in their relationship. Olivia couldn't understand why Eddie was acting as if she had committed an unforgivable sin. She had always been open about her past. It was part of who she was, a part that Eddie had accepted when they first fell in love. The weeks dragged on, each day filled with more silence and avoidance until Olivia, feeling desperate and rejected, turned to the familiar comfort of her phone. She reinstalled Tinder, telling herself it was just a way to feel wanted again, a harmless distraction from the emotional void that had taken hold of her marriage. As the matches began to roll in, each message was a rush of validation, a fleeting reminder that she was still desirable. She crafted her profile carefully, choosing pictures that highlighted her best features while obscuring her identity. There was a thrill in the exchanges, a flirtation that reignited a spark in her soul that had been dulled under the weight of her current reality. Each compliment from strangers was like a balm, soothing her wounds and momentarily silencing the questions that plagued her about her marriage. Eddie noticed her increased phone usage but chose not to confront her directly. Instead, he offered a vague comment one evening, his voice casual but his eyes searching, as if he were trying to find the pieces of the woman he once knew. Olivia deflected, spinning a tale about planning Isabel's birthday party. But she could feel the weight of his gaze, the unspoken accusations simmering just below the surface. The weeks turned into a cyclical pattern of avoidance, with Olivia burying herself deeper into her digital escapades. She poured more effort into her appearance, not for Eddie, but for the strangers on her screen who admired her beauty. Each photo sent, each risque message, felt like a rebellion against the neglect she felt at home. The intimacy between her and Eddie faded, leaving her to cling to the fleeting connections she formed online, all while Eddie grew increasingly distant, unaware of the extent of Olivia's escapades. One night, as they sat together in silence, Eddie broke the tension with a question that hung heavy in the air. "Do you ever think about where we went wrong?" The inquiry was laced with vulnerability that caught Olivia off guard. She instinctively lied, assuring him everything was fine, even though both of them knew it was a facade. Eddie's expression was one of a man grappling with the unknown, searching for the Olivia he once knew, but finding only a stranger in her place. In a moment of reckless desperation, Olivia crossed a line she had never considered before. She sent a nude photo to one of her Tinder matches, a decision that felt exhilarating yet reckless. She rationalized her actions, blaming Eddie's coldness for pushing her to seek affirmation from others. But the thrill was short-lived, as the reality of her choices began to settle like a heavy fog. Eddie, who had always respected their boundaries of privacy, unknowingly stumbled into a reality he never anticipated. He had noticed a change in Olivia, the way she had been glued to her phone, and it stirred something within him, a suspicion that compelled him to breach the unspoken trust they had built over the years. One evening, when Olivia emerged from the shower, she found him sitting at the kitchen table, his expression a mixture of calm and something darker. Her phone lay in front of him, lit up with the evidence of her betrayal. The moment stretched, time slowing as the weight of understanding crashed over Olivia like a tidal wave. The screenshots of her conversations, the explicit messages, the images she had sent, it all lay bare before him. His voice was unsettlingly steady as he asked about her actions, a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in Olivia's mind. In a panic, she tried to defend herself, to shift the blame onto him, insisting that his emotional withdrawal had driven her to seek validation elsewhere. But Eddie's demeanor shifted, the calmness replaced by an unmistakable weariness. It was evident that he had reached a breaking point, and his disappointment was palpable. "It was never about your past, Olivia," he said, his voice low and measured. "It was about respect. Hearing you joke about dreaming of other men in front of our friends, that cut deep. I was working through it, but this is a choice you made." With those words, the foundation of their marriage trembled. Olivia felt the ground beneath her shift as Eddie gathered the evidence of her infidelity into a neat pile, his expression betraying a deep-seated hurt that she had never seen before. The realization that her actions had consequences hit her with a force she couldn't deny. "So, what now?" she asked, her voice trembling as panic set in. "I'm taking Isabel to my parents tomorrow," he replied quietly. "We need space. She doesn't need to be around this." The word struck Olivia like a physical blow, the finality of his decision echoing in her mind. "You can't take my daughter," she yelled, her heart racing as the reality of his words sank in. But Eddie remained resolute, his calm resolve contrasting sharply with her rising desperation. The next morning, Eddie was gone before she awoke, leaving only a note behind. He had taken Isabel to daycare and would pick her up later. Panic surged through Olivia as she realized the gravity of the situation. The severing of their family unit now tangible and irrevocable. She dialed his number repeatedly, each ring a reminder of the chasm that had formed between them. When he finally responded, his message was short and devoid of warmth, confirming that he and Isabel were safe at his parents' house. Desperation led her to her sister-in-law, Vanessa, hoping for understanding and support. But what she received was a stark reality check. Vanessa had heard everything from Eddie, the full scope of Olivia's actions laid bare. The weight of her betrayal settled heavily on Olivia as she listened to Vanessa's disappointment. The realization that her justifications had crumbled under scrutiny. "Those weren't just flirty texts, Olivia," Vanessa said, her voice firm. "You crossed a line and you need to own that." The word stung, a bitter reminder of the choices she had made in her quest for validation. Even her sister echoed the sentiment, a chorus of voices reminding her that she had betrayed the trust of the one person who had stood by her through thick and thin. As the reality of her actions sank in, Olivia was left standing at the edge of her crumbling marriage, grappling with the consequences of her choices. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with the remnants of love and the shadows of betrayal, and she was left to navigate the wreckage of what was once a beautiful relationship. The laughter of the past faded into the silence of a future she had never envisioned, forcing her to confront the truth of her actions and the possibility that she might have lost everything she once held dear.